Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Seattle Black Film Festival. And we are excited for this evening's program of powerful short narrative films. My name is Zola Mumford. I have been the curator of this festival since we began in 2003. This is the first year we've had to do it online. We really appreciate everyone tuning in these challenging times that we're experiencing. The creativity continues to flow. Before we begin our screening block, which is made possible, I would like to thank Couchathon for providing the streaming platform. And also I'd like to remind you that you can also watch and post questions at the Facebook live stream. If you're watching directly in the Couchathon link, streaming page, just enter your questions in the chat box below the image. Tonight's discussion will be moderated by the wonderful Sadiqua Iman. She's a real asset to Seattle's creative scene, but she's originally from Chicago, I believe, and really has done a lot of great creative work across the country. She is the artistic director of Earth Pearl Collective. It's a group that supports the work of women living at the intersections of the African diaspora who are dedicated to healing their communities through creative collaborations. And she's the co-founder of Nile's Edge Healing Arts, an African-centered thought holistic health collaborative. As an interdisciplinary artist and activist, Sadiqua challenges preconceived notions of marginalized identities through theater, dance, and poetry workshops and performances, and maybe film in the future. She was awarded the National Arts Strategist Community Arts Fellowship, Theater Communication Group Rising Leaders of Color Fellowship, and in 2019, the Seattle Art Fellowship for Innovative Creations. She used the funds to open the new African-centered Healing Arts Center, Nile's Edge, in Seattle's historic Central District. She regularly freelances at many of Seattle's theaters as a director, program coordinator, and costume designer. I will turn it over to you, Sadiqua.
Thank you so much, Zola, for that introduction. Sorry, everything fell as soon as I was sewing. I was like, wow. I used to have everybody reading my whole bio. That was exciting. Welcome to the 17th Annual Seattle Black Film Festival. This was previously known as the Langston Hughes Film Festival. They've been doing a lot of amazing programming and being able to really separate themselves as a nonprofit themselves. So they are moving over to just the annual Seattle Black Film Festival. So we're really excited about the fact that it's been going on for this long and that COVID could not stop it, had nothing on it, and we are still here. We have an amazing panel of directors and one of our producers able to come. Well, a lot of you are both directors, writers.
Oh, Sadiqua, we seem to have lost your audio. Okay, well, while she's doing that, getting her audio back up, if I could just please ask each filmmaker to say their name and the name of their film. Is your audio back up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, I have no idea when you stopped hearing me. But all is fine. Let me just make sure that everything's on now. Okay. Hear me fine, Zola?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So I think we are going to start with tonight's theme is coming into our own. And I think it's very appropriate, especially for this group of films that are coming up next, because in the most beautiful ways, there's a lot of talk about work with grief, and in the time that we're in right now, to have so much work that deals with, everything from grief of a loved one to grief of an identity, all shown through these very various beautiful films, is kind of what we're going into today. And as we begin, I just want to go through each of our film directors and allow you to tell us, where you're from, and just a quick check-in question. how has this, making this film, the film that you're presenting today, how has it served in your grief process? Even if it's just like a little bit of, I was finally able to say or do, you know, I'm just gonna hop right in because I want to really hear what you all have to say about who you are and the work that you're producing. So if we could start with maybe Ashunda Norris.
Yes. Hi, I'm Ashunda. Do I say my film? I'm Ashunda Norris. I'm the writer, director, producer of MINO, a diasporic myth. And I was born and raised in the country, Dublin, Georgia. So I'm a country girl at heart. Your question was about grief. Interestingly enough, during the pre-production of the film, my paternal grandmother passed away. And I was already grieving my paternal grandmother who died in 2014. So I was pouring a lot of grief into the film when I was actually getting ready to make it. And so because it's all women, all Black women, so I was honoring my grandmothers as I was making the film. So I was mourning at the same time I was making the film. So my grief was wrapped up into everything I was doing at the time. So it's all over the film, the love for my grandmothers, the love for Black women. It's all up and through every single scene because I didn't have anything else. I didn't want to stop making the film. And I felt like the only way to kind of keep honoring my grandmothers was to do what they couldn't possibly do at the time, which was make art. And so I kept going.
Thank you, Ashunda. That was beautiful. And you guys are going to see that all in her work in our next segment of films. It's very clear and so beautifully done, Ashunda.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. Felicia, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how your film has helped you work through things.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you again to Langston and the entire Seattle Black Film Festival. I'm originally from Baltimore. My film is called Tender, and it's about two women who have a one-night stand and the intimate morning after that they share. And one of the women actually is dealing with loss in the film. So it's sort of this idea of how we can find connection when we're grieving in the most unlikely places, when we feel safe and when we feel and we're able to sort of let our guards down. So yeah, for me, I think a lot of times I write what I want to see. So it was just like trying to, wanting to see the type of intimacy, first of all, after a one night stand. I mean, that's rare. But to also see that connection that you can have when you're working through something as hard as loss, and how you can have connection with some in unlikely places.
Thank you, Felicia. Beautiful. Same goes. I mean, you all, no need for me to babble in between. You all are about to see it. Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and more about your film?
Hi, my name is Rachel Myers. I live in Southern California, just outside LA, but I'm actually here in the Pacific Northwest, unfortunately not in Seattle this evening with this wonderful group of people and with an audience, but I'm really excited to see everyone's films. My film is Two Black Boys. It's written by Giovanni Adams, who is an artist, an actor, and a writer, and the poetry in the film is based on his one-man show, which we collaborated on the one-man show, and I was so moved by his stage performance that was in LA and then in San Francisco that I approached him, and because my background is as a filmmaker and a visual artist, I thought, like, let's make a moving poem of your words. So the struggle in the film is about identity and sexuality, and its journeys from boyhood to adulthood, and the challenges that he faced in his own life, living against expectation in his community and his own family. So the film explores that, and it is laden with grief in the conflict of those dynamics. So I hope that that you all enjoy it, and I'm really touched to be able to be here, and thank you to Langston and Seattle Black Film Festival. It's really wonderful to be able to be with a group of filmmakers, even though we're not like together. So here's to everybody else on this panel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rachel. Let's go on to Chase Johnson.
Hello, everyone. How you doing today? My name is Chase Johnson. I'm the director and writer of Waters of March. I'm accompanied with my producer. Waters of March kind of is it's a personal story. It's a story that I experienced in my own process of grief when I lost my great-grandmother. And I just felt that I was holding this burden of a story that I think nobody would believe me about. Sometimes when you lose people, they visit you and there's visitations. And I think that's part of the human experience that we don't really get to see more of in film. And I kind of just wanted to, throw a jab or take a crack at telling that story, and in the process kind of honoring my grandmothers and the matriarchs that, made my family and allowed us to live and, be storytellers in, this 21st century. So I'm just truly humbled and grateful to be here with all you. And I'm just excited to see and learn more about you through your films.
Thank you, Chase. You guys are so humble. Wait till you guys see these films. They're really like, oh, we're so humbled. We are excited to have you all. Trust me. Darren Colston. I think you're on mute.
Sorry.
No worries.
Darren Colston here. Hello, all. My film is Grandpa's Hands. I grew up in the Seattle area, but kind of like just a West Coast baby. School in LA, live in Oakland. The grief, man, it's heavy. The story is based on my last interaction with my grandfather before he passed away from dementia. I think in a way there were two deaths, the dementia that took him earlier and then his actual passing. And I think the film, the film was an attempt at creative redemption for myself. I spent a lot of time in LA chasing the dream, working on various productions, and I missed some time connecting with him. Just thinking that the dementia took him already and it didn't matter. And my last interaction, I actually had a connection. It wasn't personal, but you'll see in the film, like the meat of the story or the drama actually happened, and we're connected by the type of man he is or was. So yeah, that's my deal.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you. One more. There we go. And Devon. Did he hear me?
Sadiqua, I wonder if some of your audio has dropped out.
Oh, no. Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yes, Devon? No? Okay,
Yeah.
no worries. No worries. You all can hear me fine, yes? Okay, just making sure. Okay. Thank you all for introductions and just being here and being available to start this conversation today before we show your films. Sorry I didn't to come off the gate with such a grief, but you all did it. You all came out the gate like that, so I just followed your lead.
Did everyone get a chance to address the question? I'm not sure that we heard from everyone.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Okay, sorry. Just wanted to make sure everyone had a chance.
And if not, feel free to shoot me a message privately if you need to, if I skipped you for any reason, okay? So in this climate right now, well, even before this climate, as Black filmmakers, do you all feel like a push to have to be political or to have a message with the work that you're putting out there? And this is not to anybody in particular, whoever wants to hop in first.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. I mean, for me, my personal is political. My very existence when I walk outside the door is a political statement. And I've embraced that, actually. So every single thing I make, like Felicia said, if she makes things that she wants to see, I do the exact same thing. If I see a big void and I crave something, I make the film. And because I am a Black woman and I identify as a woman of African descent, most of my content is about women going through something or women dealing with something very specifically. So my existence, it interacts politically. So I don't shy away from it at all, because it like intertwines with what I do and how I move in the world, the way I speak. So I try to live how I want people to be able to live. For example, I talked about how my great-grandmother or my grandmothers couldn't rest. The idea of rest was not an option for a lot of women in my family. So the way I made this film was to create a space for the women to just sit and be without doing anything for anybody else except themselves. And for some people, that seems to be like a radical act for Black women to insist on resting. And that's a political statement, unfortunately, in the climate that we live in. And so I wanted to be able to put that in a film and not apologize for resting, to not apologize for taking care of women who look like me and women who look like me only. I think it's something to be said for women of African descent who come together in a circle, a sister circle, and take care of each other and push, if they're straight, they're pushing the men out of their lives, to take just 15 minutes or an hour to sit with their friends or sit with their girls and to be with each other. I think that's an important thing to do. And so in my films, I'm always trying to figure out a way for Black women to be whole. And that seems to be an issue for people outside of that space. And so I've decided not to be very apologetic about bringing my intentions into the work and bringing my ancestors with me. I mean, physically, literally bringing them with me and asking them, am I going on the right path? Am I in the right direction? And calling their names and remembering them. And that's all about my political move in the world.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Did anybody else want to speak to that?
That part, no, that's facts, for sure. Like, yeah, I think it's a duty as, storytellers, filmmakers, to definitely elevate our voices and, speak about these times. We're kind of like the gatekeepers, history keepers. And, I think every work we should do shouldn't have a political message or speak our truth, because, I don't know, I think with my film, my intention was to honor my ancestors as well. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really hear the narratives or the stories that our ancestors had to go through. And now that we're living in this weird time, I think we should start elevating those voices even more. We have Birth of a Nation. That's like Hollywood's first film, and that's glorifying white supremacy. And so I think with our duty as filmmakers, we have the ability to, create the discourse and create what's true now, and show our images in a way that we have control over, instead of somebody else kind of puppeteering the way that we speak, the way that we talk, the way that we walk. So for sure, I think it's a filmmaker's duty, at least now, to speak their truth, whatever that is. So.
Yeah, and I to just second what everyone is saying, I also think that, particularly for Tender, I think that what I was interested in is showcasing Black female sexuality, which I think that is often exploited or ignored, or we don't see the nuances of it. You know, Black female queerness, Black female desire, which is often policed, or not to be seen as full. And then I think Black joy is resisted. So I also wanted to show Black joy on screen as well.
When you're talking about grief, we need that more than anything, especially right now. Beautiful. Did anybody else want to speak to that? No? Okay. Beautiful. A lot of you mentioned this in just this last question, but also everyone will be able to see it in your films. You have a very strong, like not just Black, but like African moments in many of your films. Can you hear me all right? Okay. In your films, and I'm just curious if anyone would like to speak, especially Waters of March. That one kind of comes out the gate with it, of either what is your personal connection to it, or why you think it's so important to make sure that we're including those in Black stories right now.
Yeah, I think for at least in Waters of March's story is that my grandmother, she devoted a majority of her time, her life in the church, Black church, Baptist church, and some part of me feels like that prevented her freedom to a degree, and what she wanted to do, being an actress, traveling around the world. I just felt like that kind of patriarchal system kind of weighed her down a little bit. And so I kind of wrestle with Christianity in myself, because I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I would say that was a big kind of survival tactic for us through slavery, to kind of, submit ourselves into the Black church. And I kind of wanted to rebel against that as a way to honor my grandma and where she comes from. And I know that some of my dad tells me that there's talks of her aunts being what we would call witches in the Western world, but practicing African traditions like voodoo. And so through some friends, they introduced me to a teacher, a Babalao, and he practices Ifa, which is like a science, a tool for us to kind of get closer to our spirit. And I wanted, pretty much his speech to kind of be the narration through this kind of past, present, future narrative, as a way to connect everybody in some kind of spiritual mantra type of thing. So I think, just elevating African spirituality, since that's been demonized so much in cinema. So.
Yeah, I agree. My film, ironically, I have been looking to reclaim, seeking out who I am. I mean, as a woman, an African woman, forcibly born here in this land, on this country, I resent it a little bit because I know that my people were forced here. So I've been on this quest to find out who I am. And so a lot of the film is just what Chase mentioned about witchcraft, right? Embracing witchcraft. I mean, I had people asking, are there witches? Absolutely. I mean, yes, they are. I hope you're comfortable. And if not, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And I think it's very important, like speaking about the Black church, like the way we've even in the South specifically hidden all these traditions inside the Black church. The ring shout, catching ghosts, you're catching a spirit. And I think a lot of times my grandmothers and my they didn't have the language for what they were doing, but it's an ancient practice, right? And so I wanted to bring that into the film and try to reclaim the images, reclaiming the women. I felt like if you watch the film, I wanted you to gaze upon the women's faces and be enamored with them, honoring the goddess in Black women, right? The divine of Black women. You see them, the light is coming off of their faces. And I feel like every woman of African descent has that power within them. And when they saw my film, I wanted it to touch them. And so if you're a woman who is super evangelical, like into Christianity, you might kind of, stand back a little bit with some of the instances in the film, but at the same time, it's pulling you because it's part of you, right? Christianity is about 2,000 years old, which is pretty young. We're talking about ancient practices. And so I was very intentional about bringing ritual into the space. There are a lot of rituals in the film that take place that are ancient. The practice of doing each other's hair, that's a ritual that has like a lot of love in it. So I was bringing all of that into my film space and really be really serious and clear that this is an African presence, and we're calling on people when we're doing these things. We don't know the names of them, but we're calling somebody. And so I wanted to put that into the film and be very intentional about honoring that space and that divinity.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on that? Rachel, were you about to speak on that?
I was just going to say it sort of derivates from like exactly the thread, but it's about like what Ashunda said really resonated with me, because like you carry the weight of your past with you. And part of that is the way that people see you and perceive you, and the way that they track you based on that information, and what you really are inside, which is really what the movie's about. And it's like what resonated with me as a filmmaker with the poetry and the writing, because it's like you see somebody and you don't know about their sexuality, you don't know if they've been abused, you don't know like what their family was like, was their parent in jail, but you make a judgment, and like that duality of how we engage in the world with those experiences and navigate that, and then what people push back at you is sort of what my movie's about. And it's what really interests me, especially in this moment politically and like as an artist, because I think we're always sort of pushing against this perception, the way that you're charted, and what opportunity that affords you. So that's all that I was going to say. But it was said so eloquently by some of the others in the group. I was debating.
Whatever. Thank you for chiming in. So the one question to everybody is just you have to talk about how is it as Black filmmakers right now in COVID, when everything is going online, everybody's paying attention to films, everybody's what has changed for you? And this is a question for all of you, whoever would like to hop in.
Yeah, we actually sort of switched up our distribution strategy when COVID hit and released our film online, because we felt like it was a great time for people to be home and watching it. And we hoped that we'd still be able to participate in the film festivals that were moving forward, but we just felt like it was time to kind of take it to the people we made it for. And it's actually worked out really, really well, where we've been able to have, which I've never really had before, like feedback in real time, like of your work, with people watching it and talking and in conversation with you, like tagging you on Twitter. And we've had like watch parties, and we've just partnered with groups that were just like, you know what, we're going to have a screening of the film, we're going to talk about it, or we're having this, event, and we'd love to include your film. So it's been really, really actually wonderful about the many ways that creatives have been finding new ways to connect and bring their work to the world, and then being able to collaborate with them on it has been amazing, actually.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I see a lot of the opportunities popping up, and I'm like, are you all taking advantage? Are you all being able to hop in there and do whatever you need to do to make sure you're getting your work out there now in this time when everyone's online?
I was actually overwhelmed by it. At first, it felt like digital capitalism. It felt very like everybody's doing everything at once, and so it kind of gave me a lot of anxiety. So I pulled back from social media a little bit. It was a little too overwhelming at first. easing my way back into it a little. But for me, it changed, I guess, for me, I talk about rest. I've been trying to rest, like very intentionally. There's a lot of pressure to put something online and, you know, where's your work? What's the next thing you're doing? And I'm resting is what I'm doing. And so with my rest though, I'm thinking about the next project, or I'm reading a book, or I'm researching. And so all of that is not in vain, right? The rest is intentional. The looking up a book and reading a book is, you know, everything is gonna bring itself to fruition when I get ready to make the next project. So I've been kind of considering releasing MINO online, even though we have some more festivals, just because, like Felicia said, I feel like it's an opportunity to get people more engaged with the work. There's been a great response to it, so I'm kind of looking forward to having people comment or share or tell me what they think about the film before it gets to another festival, you know.
All right, that was my silent cheering. Yes. Put that out there.
Well, I would say for me, the COVID, it's been a double-edged sword. I think it's overall positive. I mean, obviously, it's tragic that we're suffering the most out of this. I've partnered with Alzheimer's Association. We were going to do a in-person screening and talk back locally in Oakland, and it got canceled, obviously, because of COVID. But now it's we're doing online, and it's going to be reached nationally through Alzheimer's Association, which is really positive. And then also, you know, echoing Ashunda, rest. I've turned down some work. I've gotten a lot of work being the black face of a white production, and I'm taking the time to be like, nah, like this isn't the time for me to be the token. Like, it's, you know, I have the space and time to work on my own thing. So that's the effect of COVID for me.
Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
I was just going to say, I feel really fortunate that we premiered Two Black Boys at Outfest Fusion, which is specifically for voices of color. And that was the weekend of March 8th or 9th or whatever, like right before the whole world shut down. So it was really wonderful to be able to like celebrate that with the community and like see it on a big screen. And then now all these subsequent festivals have felt like this is the first one. We've been in a bunch of festivals, but this is the first one where we've had this panel. So it's so exciting to like actually feel like we're together. So I don't know what we're going to do with it, except we have more screenings. But I'm have a hard time relaxing. And so I think right at the beginning, a collaborator, filmmaker friend of mine, and we started like another series, and we've been running a virtual writer's room and filming episodes remotely. And we just like launched our first episode, premiered at another film festival. And that's been like really good medicine. It's called Hotspot Series, if anybody wants to look it up. But now I'm getting to the place where I'm like, okay, like time out. I need to just relax and heal and like be well. And it's hard to know what to do because like our society is all about spinning all the time. And I've really enjoyed not having to have like general meetings and go to parties, even though I miss dancing with people, because it's just like, it's sort of a creative stillness, which I've really appreciated. So you just keep making things.
I've got a follow-up question on what you just mentioned, filming remotely and continuing to make films, and I feel like a couple of other people addressed it too. And Chase, I think this is one where both you and Savit could weigh in. Bianca, Ashunda, Felicia, everybody could weigh in on this. Have you been, what are some of the practical things you can do to continue to make films in a time when we're supposed to be social distancing? You probably have to have the smallest crew ever. what are some ways that you could do that? I mean, you're all doing really hands-on work and you want to continue to make work, and it's great that people are writing, but what about making films in the time of COVID?
I definitely think that, you know, you can always make things with a small crew, you know what I mean? Like, we are blessed enough to have a nice camera, a couple nice cameras like on our team, so we don't have to go rent it from people. And we're also friends with actors and actresses who we can go out in a very small group outdoors, in the heat, and just shoot something small, and edit something small together, you know, and just have fun. Like, I think with this COVID situation, it's really the thing we got to do is just bring the joy back into filmmaking, you know, and going back independently and shooting with just friends and enjoying your time with friends, and then just seeing what you could come up with and just putting it out on Instagram or putting it out, you know, on social media, or just learning how to edit more yourself and get better, so that when you actually have to step up to the plate and perform in a pressure situation, where, you know, there's actually money on the line or something like that, your skills are better. So I think right now it's just like, rather than us pressing ourselves to be like, what are we going to put out now? How are we going to make something in COVID? It's more, how can we get better so that after this COVID situation is done, we're better prepared for the next step.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to
like to weigh in on that, on how you, I mean, it was great to just hear the practical aspect of it, how you can go out in the field, and there's still a lot that you can do because people are going to keep wanting to, there's so much happening nationwide in this moment, and even if your film isn't about that exactly, I feel like now audiences might be even more attentive, even more engaged.
Well, since we released Tender online, the reception to it compelled us to want to turn it into a feature. And I had already had another project that I wanted to shoot a proof of concept for this summer and then direct the feature. But now Tender is like calling, but it also makes sense in terms of a next feature because it would be a smaller crew, it's a smaller cast, it's a more contained story. So I'm not interested in shooting anything right now. I'm like, we can wait till this is over. But when things are over, you know, my hope is that in late 2021, I'd be able to shoot Tender the feature. And so I've been using this time very much, as they were saying, you know, writing, taking classes, thinking. And I also want to slow burn Tender the feature. So I want to use that time to work with collaborators and slow burn so that when we are ready and all feel comfortable shooting, we've had this really, really intense and intimate development process, which I don't think we are able to get often. So I kind of want to use the time to really have a slow burn development process.
what a time to actually be able to do that with all the craziness that's happened. Stuff like being able to really dig into things as an artist is another part that is also happening through all this, which is beautiful, and I can't wait for it.
Okay. So yeah, Sadiqua's connection looks like it might have stopped. She'll be back. Anybody else want to talk about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't thought about shooting. Again, I get overwhelmed by a lot of things, and I'm like, shooting right now. I mean, and also my last film, the film you're about to watch, MINO, it took a lot out of me. I mean, I was working a full-time job, dealing with teenagers, so my stress level was intensely high when I was prepping for the film, because I'm prepping as I'm working. And I'm talking about going to work Monday through Friday, getting up at 6 a.m. to go scout after a Friday that was horrible, right? And so I did a lot of work with my last film. And so I feel like right now is the time for me to kind of meditate on what I want to do next. Definitely a feature. Also, just meditating on MINO, where I can go with that. I'm taking the time to do that now just because the film just took a lot. It was really intense. And so my psyche is still in that space. To go make a film right now feels super daunting for me. But I feel like it's a time to kind of collect, right? Forage through text, through random encounters online. I found some of the randomest things. Like I found this, I don't know if you guys heard about the lady, Janet Cook, who made up a story in like the 80s at Washington Post about a 8-year-old heroin addict. I was fascinated. I was like, who is this Black lady? She's fascinating. And so I've been reading her story because it just feels like, I don't know, it was just random. And I went down a hole, right? And using all of that to kind of figure out how I'm going to create something. Like, why do people do what they do? Why do Black women perform a certain way in really hostile spaces, right? Washington Post probably wasn't, I mean, she probably had like a few Black people bosses, but most of her editors were white males. And I'm interested in like, how do women navigate those spaces on a continuous basis, right? And I went down another rabbit hole. So rabbit holes have been kind of like my thing right now, where I'm like harvesting, gathering eggs, and, something's gonna pop out of that.
Thank you. We are almost out of time, but before we close up, I did want to ask Bianca, you have a very unique genre that you're exploring, especially as a Black human in space right now, going into the horror genre, which is something that fortunately, unfortunately, a lot of Black people have not really gone to, and you do it as a way of women empowerment even. I would love to just hear you speak on that.
Especially females, we're not really represented in the horror genre, and I love it. So I really wanted to. I always write films, female perspective, and in mind, and I really wanted to explore, especially a Black in the lead, because we're not really seen as the lead in horror films. We're usually as bait and fodder, and we die quickly, and our stories aren't really told in that particular space. So I really wanted to explore that further and use my my sort of unique experiences to sort of color that world, color my my horror art. So yeah.
And Bianca, again, when this is over, the our producing organization, Langston, hosts a Black horror film and discussion series. So hopefully you can come to some of that live.
Yes.
I love that.
Awesome. Well, we are about to close up so that everybody can grab their popcorn and sit down and snuggle into these films. Before we go, are there any words that you all want to leave with,
Okay, Sadiqua, it looks like your audio dropped out again, but no worries. Any words that anyone wants to leave with our audience?
Oh, did I freeze?
It would be great to hear from everyone.
I'd say, I guess I'll go first. I guess just keep creating. I'm mostly a screenwriter, so COVID's been kind of a unique blessing and curse. It's sort of allowed me to procrastinate, but then I get tired of procrastinating. So then I write and I then procrastinate some more, and it's sort of a cycle, but I've gotten a lot done, a lot of written. So just keep creating and hope, wear masks, keep safe, stay healthy, and stay indoors as you can. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd second that. I mean, we know that we need more stories from more of our perspectives, because we have so many different perspectives and views, and we know that theoretically, but like we really like the release of Tender for me really reconfirm that, like, we need so many different stories. So I encourage us to move past the, there's the institutional shit. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm so scarce, but then the systemic, but like for our own personal fears, I know myself, I used to say I couldn't direct, I couldn't see like a director. I had all these narratives that I told myself. So at least if we're able to move past the personal blocks that we put for ourselves, so that we can tell these very, very important stories. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think something I would leave is just go crazy. You know what I mean? Like, there's not one story that, that could come from our experiences that is not good enough. You know what I mean? Because we have, a plethora of different experiences that we carry with us daily. And I'm just saying, like, shine your light to the world. So, I mean, we need that right now. And we're in desperate need for, these experiences. So, I mean, start writing, go in. You don't need film school to be a talented, amazing storyteller. And let's just tell our truths.
Yeah, I say whatever your dream is, you go after it. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything, especially if you are a Black creator, creative African descent. You find any way to make sure you can make your work, and you put it out there. All those little voices in your head that tell you can't do it, ignore all of those, right? Tell the voice to shut up, because it's not gonna go away. Just tell it to be quiet. I gotta get my work done, and really go for it. And I just like to thank the festival, because this is wonderful. And give a shout out to my cast and crew, because they worked their asses off for me. Like, I pushed them to do some things. They were like, this girl's crazy. So just want to shout them out, and just anybody who's watching who wants to make a film, or you want to write a book, or you just want to do whatever you want to do, you figure it out. As long as you're not harming anybody, just figure out what you want to do and go for it.
And one thing I want to add, especially for the people sitting on the panels, as much as we want to talk about, like, the moves for the future and going in on writing or shooting for the future, it's always just things like this, events like this are important for us to just sit back and reflect on what you have created and what you have accomplished to this point. And we're on our end very proud of everybody here on what you guys have accomplished, what we've accomplished, and always good to stop and smell the roses, especially when times get tough, like we see in the geopolitical climate today.
My first big film job in LA was a Black woman producer who was like, girl, I'm gonna pull you in, and like that opened the door for me. And so I've really tried in my career, and I'm really late to directing. I mean, I've only started directing in the last 4 years, and I'm going to be 40, but I've been working in the film industry for 20 years. And that was because I didn't see anybody like me who mentored me. And I just saw a lot of young white dudes, basically. And so I really believe in like helping build other people up in the business, and also in the way that we tell stories and do things, and like just saying yes. So I'm really grateful to be here, and I'm super stoked to see everybody's movies, and I'm thankful for the festival, and this is, we're artists, we're making things, and thank you guys for watching. So yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, kind of similar situation, Rachel. Like I spent the past 10 years producing, kind of building a list of all the ideas that I have, but like saying I'm not ready and I can't do it, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the crew, whatever. And I took the time to figure out what mattered the most to me. What I had to say if I could only make one film, and kind of put it in order, and I did it. And this was my first film, so like just echoing everybody, like just put down your list of excuses and just get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the professionals, giving you your cues, your work, your things to do. You are charged. I just want to check in with if there were any questions coming from people watching, listening, that I may have missed in the chat. I want to make sure that anybody who wanted to communicate had an opportunity to do so. I think I see anything. Zola, do you see anything that I might be missing? Just want to double check.
Hang on, I have like 5 windows open.
Heard. It's a real thing.
It might take me a minute. Well, some people have probably posted comments to the Facebook Live page. Let's see if I can do a quick follow-up there. Believe me, it usually goes a lot faster, everyone, when we are in the same room.
Well, I'm sure there's, do you all have hashtags or anything for your films? Just looking for nods, heads. If so, let's go on and give those out right now, because, you know, after they see them, they're going to be trying to write stuff down and be like, oh, I wish I didn't have it. So let's just go on and give it to them now. Waters of March by Chase Johnson. Do you have anything, any social media tags for anybody to follow?
Oh yeah, so me and Severe, we have a media production company, and it's at the Scribble Room. So I'm going to put that in the chat right now.
Perfect.
At the Scribble Room. And then our website is www.thescribbleroom.com. So let me put that in there.
And I don't have audience questions, but I do have a comment to share.
Okay.
Thank you. This was so beautiful. Creativity is the golden key. That is from Red-Tailed Hawk. And red-tailed is spelled R-E-A-D-T-L-A-E-D. Storytelling.
Nice. Thank you. Look at y'all changing people's
so much.
lives, making people's days.
So I think we're ready to wrap up.
Yeah. I was just going through and letting everybody give their tags for their film, so make sure that they can be followed after the films are shown. Is that okay? Grandpa's Hands by Darren Colston. You got any tags that you need to make sure people know about? Oh, you're on mute, Dar.
Terrible at Zoom. The IG is at grandpas_hands_film. And then my production company is black_SQR, Black Square.
Perfect. MINO, a diasporic myth by Ashunda Norris. What do we need to follow to make sure we keep up with you?
You can go to my website, ashunda.com, and for the film on Instagram, it's at MINO, MINO_film, FILM.
Beautiful. Tender by Felicia Pride.
Yeah, you can go to tendermovie.com. If you like the music in the movie, we have a playlist there. We have behind the scenes images and videos, and then you can follow us on IG at Tender Movie.
Wonderful. Make sure y'all do it. Two Black Boys by Rachel Myers.
You can follow our Instagram, which is at Two Black Boys Film, and there's links there to look at Giovanni Adams, who's the writer, and my Instagram is Rachel Directs.
Thank you, Rachel. And Fear Insanity by Bianca Malcolm.
No, I don't have any social media handles.
No problem. They just have to find you. They just have to keep up with you. I'm not mad at it. A Mother by Natasha Ngaiza, who's not on the call with us today, but you'll be seeing her film tonight as well. And The Corner Store by Winter Coleman. Again, she wasn't able to join us, but we will definitely enjoy their work. Thank you all for this little time together, for this connection of beautiful Black people, on film, watching film for film's sake. And Zola, do you have any closing remarks before we move on?
I would just like to thank everyone for being so generous with their time and with the amazing work that you all have created. And keep on creating. And I just followed everyone on Instagram and on Twitter, and I'm going to retweet and repost as much as I can to try and elevate these creative voices. So thank you very much. And everybody stay safe, stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you.